The stars above Earth had never looked so cold. From the broken windows of the United Earth Coalition's command center, Commander Sarah Williams stared at the night sky, knowing what was coming. The alien fleet had been spotted 2 days ago, moving fast across the solar system. All contact with Mars had been lost. Saturn's defense line had gone silent. Earth was next. The war had lasted 5 years. At first, humans believed they had a chance. They had powerful weapons, brave soldiers, and strong cities. But the enemy, known only as the Zor-K, was beyond anything humanity had faced before. They came not just with machines, but with minds that could control energy, hack systems, and crush human armies with speed and silence. Now, the last cities were falling. Earth was losing. In the underground command base, deep beneath the ruins of Washington, D.C., Sarah's voice echoed in the war room as she gave orders. Her face was calm, but inside, she was exhausted. Prepare the last defense drones. Move all surviving units to Zone 7. We hold them there as long as we can. Around her, tired officers nodded and moved quickly. No one asked if they would survive. Everyone knew the answer. Above ground, the cities were burning. People who had not evacuated in time hid in basements and tunnels, praying the next blast would not hit their homes. Satellites showed the Zor-K fleet forming above Earth's orbit, their ships like shadows against the moon. And yet, in all this chaos, a signal was found. Dr. Alan Carter was a scientist who had once worked on deep space technology. When the war began, his projects were forgotten, and he was forced to hide in bunkers with the rest. But now, he stood in front of a dusty terminal in the command base, staring at something impossible. "Commander, you need to see this," he said, calling Sarah over. The screen showed strange symbols, patterns glowing faintly in blue. "What is this?" she asked, leaning closer. "It's not alien. It's old, very old, but human. From Earth, hidden for thousands of years, buried beneath this base. Something is still active, sending a signal," Alan explained. Sarah frowned. "We built this base only 30 years ago. How can something older than that be here?" Alan looked at her, unsure. "I think we built on top of something ancient, something left by people before us." They followed the signal down into the lowest parts of the base, places no one had entered in years. Dust covered the floors, and the lights flickered weakly. At the far end of a forgotten hallway, behind a sealed door, they found it. An object, round and metallic, with strange markings along its sides. The moment Sarah touched it, the object lit up. A voice filled the room, speaking a language none of them understood at first. But somehow, they felt the meaning. The voice spoke of war, of survival, of a power locked away for a time when Earth would face its greatest threat. The lights dimmed, and a hologram appeared, a figure of a man, tall and wearing armor unlike anything they had seen before. His eyes glowed with fire, and his voice was strong. "To those who still stand, we were the first warriors. We ruled the stars before the fall. We are your ancestors, and now our strength is yours." Sarah stepped back, stunned. "Is this real?" Alan nodded slowly. "It's a message, but not just that. I think there's more. I think this is a key to something hidden." As the message ended, the ground shook above them. Sirens screamed in the command center. The Zor-K had begun their attack. The main defense shields fell, and alien crafts began to drop into the city ruins. Soldiers scrambled to respond, and explosions rocked the earth. Sarah returned to the war room and saw the red lights blinking all over the map. "This is it," she whispered. "They're here." But she had no time to break. "Hold them as long as you can. Buy me time," she ordered, then turned to Alan. "Can we unlock it? Whatever this thing is, we need it now." Alan and a small tech team worked quickly, connecting the artifact to the base's main system. As the power flowed into it, the entire facility lit up. ancient systems, long buried and forgotten, came online. Blue energy ran through the walls, and doors opened to hidden chambers filled with armor, weapons, and strange machines. Sarah picked up one of the weapons, its surface warm and smooth. "This doesn't look human," she said. Alan replied, "It is, but not from our time. I think our ancestors were more advanced than we ever knew, and they left these tools for when we'd need them most." Meanwhile, above ground, human forces were falling back. The Zor-K were brutal, tearing through bunkers and defense posts with no mercy. Their weapons melted steel, and their ships moved faster than the eye could follow. But just as they reached the base's outer wall, something changed. A loud hum shook the air, and from the ground rose towers of light. Energy shields, stronger than any seen before, snapped into place around the base. The alien blasts bounced off, and the Zor-K paused, confused. Inside, Sarah stood in new armor, powered by the artifact's energy. Around her, a team of elite soldiers had suited up, each wearing advanced gear once thought to be impossible. "We are not done," she said firmly. "We are not giving up Earth. Not today." She led her team up to the surface. As the doors opened, the sky above them was filled with fire. But this time, the humans had power to fight back. A wave of energy pulsed from the base, knocking Zor-K ships from the sky. The soldiers, using the ancient weapons, fought back with speed and strength they had never known. One by one, the Zor-K fell. But more kept coming. The battle was not won yet. From a high command ship, the Zor-K leader watched. His face, hidden behind a mask, showed no fear, only curiosity. "So, the ancient humans have awakened," he said slowly. "This will be interesting." Back at the base, Sarah looked to the horizon where more ships approached. Her heart pounded, but she felt something different now. Hope. Real hope. Not because they would win easily, but because they finally had a chance. And she knew, deep in her soul, that this was only the beginning. The real war was about to start, and Earth had just found its forgotten strength. The night sky burned as the alien fleet circled Earth like vultures. Fires still raged in what used to be major cities. The Zor-K had pushed humanity to the edge, and only one base still stood strong. The UEC command base. It wasn't because of steel walls or high-tech shields. It was because of something ancient that had awakened beneath the ground. Something powerful. Something human. Commander Sarah Williams stood in the chamber below the base where the artifact had been found. Blue light glowed around her and her team. The air felt heavy with energy. She was no longer wearing regular armor. Her suit was alive, reacting to her every move. It moved like a second skin, faster, stronger, and more intelligent than any technology Earth had ever created. Around her, a small group of soldiers stood in silence. Each of them had been chosen to test this ancient power. Some were young, some experienced. All of them were brave. Dr. Alan Carter watched the systems from behind a thick glass panel. He had spent hours studying the technology, and he still couldn't believe it. The machines responded to brain activity. The more focused the mind, the stronger the response. "These aren't just weapons," Alan said. "They were designed for warriors who fought with mind and body as one. This armor bonds with your thoughts." Sarah turned to her team. "We don't have much time. The Zor-K are regrouping. They'll hit us harder. If this technology is real, we have to learn how to use it. Now." The training began at once. The soldiers were thrown into simulation chambers where hard-light enemies attacked them from all sides. It wasn't easy. Some were overwhelmed. Others struggled to control the suits. The system pushed their limits, testing every reaction, every decision. It wasn't just about fighting. It was about focus, control, and unity. Marcus, one of the younger soldiers, was quick to adapt. His movements became faster with each round. His mind seemed to connect perfectly with the suit. He could jump higher, strike harder, and even predict incoming attacks. Sarah noticed and pulled him aside. "You're sensing well with it. Keep pushing. We may need you on the front lines sooner than expected." Outside, the Zor-K began deploying strange machines near the city ruins. Tall spires with glowing red cores. Alan studied satellite images and gasped. "They're building suppressors. Devices that can block energy fields. If they finish, our suits and shields won't work anymore." Sarah clenched her fists. "Then we strike now. We can't wait." The warriors were sent on their first mission: destroy the suppressors before they go live. A dropship took off from the base, flying low to avoid detection. Inside, the team sat in silence, each one checking their weapons and armor. Marcus stared out the window at the burning cities below. "We're fighting with ghost weapons from the past," he said quietly. "Let's hope the ghosts are on our side." The ship dropped them near the first suppressor site. The Zor-K hadn't expected a ground strike. The warriors moved fast, using their suits to cloak, dash, and strike with precision. Marcus leaped over debris, firing an energy blade from his wrist that tore through an alien mech. The battle was fast and brutal. The Zor-K fought back with drones and plasma cannons, but the warriors were too quick. They moved like shadows, untouchable, unstoppable. As they reached the base of the suppressor, the team planted charges. Sarah gave the order, and the device exploded in a ball of blue fire. But the mission wasn't over. More enemies were approaching fast. They had to reach the next site before it was activated. The second and third suppressors were deeper in the ruined city, guarded by heavier alien units. The team split into pairs. Marcus and a soldier named Reyes moved through a collapsed subway, their suits lighting the dark. Above, Sarah and two others moved across rooftops, dodging drones. At each location, the warriors fought, bled, and won. They destroyed the suppressors and weakened the Zor-K's grip on the land. But just as the final device was destroyed, something unexpected happened. A pulse wave shot through the sky, knocking systems offline for a few seconds. It was not from the Zor-K. Back at the command base, Alan was watching the monitors. "That pulse, it came from deeper underground. The artifact is reacting again." Sarah's voice came over the comms. "Is it dangerous?" Alan shook his head. "No, I think it's calling. There's more down there. Another level we haven't found yet." The team returned quickly. Time was short, but the chance to discover more ancient power couldn't be ignored. Sarah led the way back into the hidden chamber. The original artifact was now glowing brighter than before. Symbols lit up on the walls, forming a path to a sealed door. When they opened it, they found a new chamber, round, tall, and covered in strange carvings. In the center stood a massive figure, larger than life, made of metal and stone. It was a warrior, frozen in place, not a statue, a machine, or maybe something more. Alan stepped closer. "This is it. This must be the original warrior. The protector." A soft hum filled the room. The warrior's eyes lit up. Suddenly, it spoke in the same ancient voice. "The bond has begun. One of you is ready." The team looked at each other. A beam of light shot out, scanning the group, then stopped on Marcus. He stepped back, confused. "Me?" The warrior's voice spoke again. "You have the mind of the old ones. You will carry the code." Before anyone could respond, the room shook. Alarms blared. The Zor-K had found the base. Explosions echoed above. Sarah shouted, "Seal the chamber. Get ready." As the others prepared for the attack, Marcus stood in front of the ancient warrior. A circle opened in the machine's chest, revealing a crystal, bright and pulsing. Marcus reached out and touched it. In a flash of light, he was flooded with visions, images of ancient wars, of humans fighting across the stars, of enemies long forgotten. He fell to the floor, eyes wide. Sarah knelt beside him. "Marcus, are you okay?" He looked up slowly. "I saw them. All of them. What we were, what we can be again. This war, it's bigger than we thought. The doors above burst open. Alien soldiers poured in. Sarah raised her weapon. Hold the line. As the team fought to protect the chamber, Marcus stood up. His armor had changed, glowing, stronger, alive. He looked to the others. "We're not losing Earth," he said. "Not now. Not ever." And with that, he charged into the fight, the first true warrior of Earth reborn. Smoke and fire filled the sky. Alien ships circled above Earth like metal vultures, dropping pods and warriors into the burning cities below. The Zor-K had begun their final assault. The storm had broken. Inside the UEC command base, alarms screamed, and red lights flashed. Commander Sarah Williams moved quickly through the war room, her face covered in dust and sweat. "Status," she shouted. An officer answered. "They've breached 3 outer sectors. Sector 4 is gone. We've lost contact with the East Tower." Sarah looked at the large screen showing Earth's defense grid. Most of it was red. The situation was worse than she feared, but she wasn't ready to give up. Not now. Down in the ancient chamber, Marcus stood quietly, his new armor glowing with strange light. Since touching the crystal, he had changed. He moved faster, felt stronger. But it wasn't just his body. Something inside his mind was different. He remembered things he'd never lived. Wars fought in space. Weapons used by people who no longer existed. A race of ancient humans who had once ruled the stars. Dr. Alan Carter watched him closely. "You're not just using the armor anymore," he said. "You're connected to it. Like it knows you." Marcus nodded. "I don't understand it all yet. But I feel like I've done this before. Fought this war. Faced enemies like them." "Then we need you now more than ever," Sarah said, entering the room. "The Zor-K are moving in fast. We've held them off as long as we could, but our walls won't last." Alan turned to the console. "There may be something else. Another energy source deeper underground. Maybe even a power core. If we can reach it, we might be able to boost our defenses. Maybe even turn their own weapons against them." Sarah thought for a moment. "Then we split up. Marcus, take your team and fight back the Zor-K above. Keep them off us. Alan, you and I will find that core." Outside the base, the sky turned red. Huge alien walkers stomped across the ground, firing beams that melted tanks like butter. Human soldiers fought back with everything they had. Missiles, drones, ground cannons. But it wasn't enough. The Zor-K were pushing harder than ever before. Then came the roar. Marcus launched into the air, his suit glowing bright. The ancient armor gave him speed and strength no human had ever felt. He landed on the back of a Zor-K walker, slicing through it with an energy blade. The machine exploded, and the alien troops scattered in confusion. Behind him, other warriors followed, those trained in the old tech, wearing suits powered by the artifact. They moved like a storm, fighting with perfect teamwork, destroying Zor-K machines one by one. For the first time in weeks, the aliens were retreating, but only for a moment. In the skies, a massive ship appeared, larger than any seen before. It floated down slowly, casting a dark shadow over the battlefield. At its front stood a figure in tall black armor, glowing with red light. The Zor-K commander, General Xikar. Sarah whispered from below, watching the screen. "He's here." Marcus saw the figure too, his vision blurred, and suddenly a memory, not his, flashed through his mind. He had seen this alien before, long ago, in a battle from the ancient past. "I know him," he said to himself. "He was there when our people fell." Xikar raised his hand, and the alien troops began moving faster, fiercer. He wasn't just a leader, he was like a god to them. Meanwhile, deep under the base, Sarah and Alan reached the lower level. The walls were covered in glowing lines, pulsing like a heartbeat. "This is it," Alan said. "The core." They approached a large machine shaped like a sphere. Sarah placed her hand on it. It lit up, and a voice echoed through the chamber. Power access granted. Initiating ancient defense systems. The ground above shook. Pillars of energy shot up into the sky. Old weapons, buried deep under the base, activated. Turrets rose from the ground and fired beams of blue light. Alien ships exploded in midair. The Zor-K paused, unsure what was happening. Earth had suddenly become dangerous again. Back on the battlefield, Marcus saw the change and smiled. That's it. We've got our teeth back. He signaled the warriors to push forward. Together, they hit the aliens with everything they had. Buildings shook as the Zor-K walkers fell. Ships dropped from the sky. But then Shikar moved. With a wave of his hand, he pulled energy from the air and fired it at Marcus. The blast hit hard, sending Marcus flying into a wall. His armor sparked, and for a moment, everything went black. He opened his eyes to find Shikar standing over him. The alien's voice was deep and cold. You wear the armor of the old ones, but you are not them. Marcus stood slowly. No, I'm something new, something better. They clashed in the ruins of the city. Sword against energy, power against will. Every strike shook the ground. Shikar was strong, faster than any Zor-K before. But Marcus was something else now. Something ancient and human. The two warriors fought across rooftops, through broken streets, and over burning machines. In the end, Marcus found an opening. He drove his blade into Shikar's chest, and the alien howled in pain. But before he could finish the fight, Shikar vanished in a beam of red light. Back at the command base, Sarah watched the battle end. The alien ship pulled back. The Zor-K were retreating again. But she knew this wasn't over. Marcus returned, injured but alive. He escaped, he said, but he'll be back. Sarah nodded. Then we'll be ready. We know how to fight now. We know who we are. Alan stepped forward. And I think the artifact is just the beginning. There are more weapons, more knowledge, all hidden across the earth, buried by those who came before. Sarah looked out across the broken city. Fires still burned. Smoke still rose. But for the first time, Earth had pushed back. They had stood against the storm. And they had survived. This was no longer just a war for survival. It was a war for the future of mankind. The days after the great battle were heavy with silence. Smoke still covered the skies, but the Zor-K were no longer attacking. Their ships had moved back into orbit. For now, Earth was quiet. Too quiet. Commander Sarah Williams stood on a rooftop, looking at the ruins of the city. Buildings were gone. Streets were broken. But people were still alive. Survivors came out from underground shelters, blinking into the light, unsure if it was safe. For the first time in weeks, there was hope. But Sarah knew this wasn't peace. It was just the eye of the storm. Down in the command base, Marcus was recovering. His battle with Shikar had left deep wounds, on his body and in his mind. He kept seeing visions, strange places, voices in languages he didn't understand. A giant structure in space, and something locked inside it. Dr. Alan Carter ran tests but couldn't explain what was happening. Your connection to the artifact is growing, he said. It's not just giving you memories. It's unlocking something inside you. Something old. Something human. But from before history. Marcus stood and walked toward the artifact chamber. I need answers, he said. That night, the artifact pulsed with blue light again. The room filled with energy. And a new message played. This time, the voice spoke in English. If you hear this, then the enemy has returned. The Zor-K were once our allies. Long ago, we gave them a gift, technology to help them survive. But they turned against us. They feared us. They attacked us. So we sealed away the truth. We hid our strength. We became forgotten. Sarah and Alan listened in shock. They were friends, she whispered. The message continued. We made a mistake. One we could not undo. Now you must decide. Destroy them, or remind them who we are. A sudden alarm pulled everyone back to the present. A transmission had been received from the Zorkai. For the first time, they were speaking. On the screen appeared a tall Zorkai with deep black eyes and gray skin. He was not Sikaar. This one looked old and tired. His voice was slow but clear. "We do not wish to continue this war. We came to Earth not to conquer, but to survive. Our world is dying. We have no place to go. Your people once helped us. We ask you to help again." The room fell silent. Sarah looked at her team. This could be a trap. Alan nodded. Or it could be the truth. After a long meeting with her generals, Sarah made a bold decision. She would meet the Zorkai in person. "If there's a chance this war can end without more death," she said, "we have to try." Marcus stood beside her. "I'm going with you." The two boarded a small UEC ship and flew into orbit. They were escorted by two Zorkai cruisers to a massive mothership hanging in the dark like a floating city. Inside, the halls were cold and quiet. Zorkai warriors watched them, weapons ready, but no one attacked. In the center of the ship stood the same Zorkai who had sent the message. His name was Karel. He bowed slightly. "Welcome. I am not your enemy." Sarah kept her hand near her weapon. "Then prove it. Tell us the truth." Karel led them to a large room filled with screens. On them, images showed a dying planet, cracked ground, dark skies, no life. "This is our home," he said, "destroyed by war and time. We searched for help. We found Earth again. But when we arrived, your people attacked first. We responded. Then your ancient weapons activated." Marcus stepped forward. "What about Sikaar? He's still attacking." Karel lowered his head. "Sikaar is part of the old guard. He believes Earth should be taken by force. He does not speak for all of us. Our people are divided, and if you don't help us stop him, he will destroy both our species." Sarah didn't answer at first. She walked slowly across the room. Then she said, "Why didn't you just ask for help before?" Karel looked at her, his voice quiet. "Because your people forgot who they were. We thought, maybe you forgot us too." Back on Earth, Alan was digging through old files. He found an ancient record stored in the artifact's core, proof that the first humans had once shared their technology with the Zorkai thousands of years ago. "It's true," he whispered. "They were allies. Until something went wrong. In space, Sarah made her choice. I'll help stop Sikaar. But if this is a lie, I will finish what I started." Karel nodded. "Then we fight together." The next day, a strange alliance was formed. Human warriors trained in ancient armor joined Zorkai rebels who no longer believed in war. Together, they planned an attack on Sikaar's command ship, deep in the asteroid belt. As they prepared, Marcus stood with a group of young warriors. "This isn't just about Earth anymore," he said. "It's about who we are, and who we want to be." The final plan was risky. They would strike fast, and from inside, send a small team to sneak into the heart of Sikaar's ship and shut down his command systems. It was dangerous, maybe impossible, but it was the only chance to stop a war that had already taken too much. Before they left, Sarah looked at Marcus. "You ready for this?" He smiled slightly. "Born ready. Or maybe, reborn." As their ship moved into the darkness of space, past the broken moons and shattered rocks, a feeling settled over them. Fear, yes, but also something else. Something stronger. Hope. Because now they knew the truth. The Zorkai were not monsters, just survivors. And the real enemy was not just out there in space. It was in the choices people made. And this time, humanity would choose better. The stars outside the ship stretched into lines as they accelerated through the asteroid belt. The crew was silent, each of them focused on their mission. Sarah Williams stood at the front of the ship, her eyes fixed on the dark void ahead. This was it. The final chance to end the war, to end the destruction. She could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on her, but there was no turning back now. Beside her, Marcus stood, his new armor gleaming under the dim lights of the ship. He had grown stronger since he had connected with the ancient artifact. The memories of past battles, of warriors who had fought for survival, flowed through his mind, but they didn't overwhelm him anymore. They made him ready. Ready for this moment. "We'll reach Sikar's ship in 10 minutes. Alan Carter's voice crackled over the comms. "The outer defenses are down. It's now or never." Sarah nodded and turned to the rest of the crew. "We move quickly. No hesitation. We strike before Sikar realizes we're here. Once we're inside, Marcus and I will go straight for the control room. The rest of you, secure the outer halls and keep our way open." Everyone was ready. Even the Zor-K rebels had formed up, their warriors standing with human soldiers, all united for the same cause. The Zor-K had not just become allies, they had become part of the fight for Earth's future. Karl, the Zor-K leader, was there too, his expression grim but determined. The ship entered the final phase of their approach to the massive Zor-K command ship. It was a dark fortress of metal, floating in the heart of an asteroid field. They had to act fast. One mistake, and they would be lost forever in the vastness of space. The ship docked on the underside of Sikar's command vessel, and the warriors moved out in silence. The corridors were cold and metallic, lit only by red emergency lights. Every step echoed through the empty halls, and the tension hung thick in the air. Sarah and Marcus led the charge, with Karl and his soldiers flanking them. The team moved with precision, clearing out small pockets of resistance. Sikar's forces had no idea what was coming. The soldiers wore the ancient armor powered by the artifact, and they were unstoppable. The Zor-K rebels fought with them side by side, each battle moving them closer to the heart of the ship. At the control room door, Marcus felt a strange sensation in his chest. He could feel the power of the artifact deep within him, calling to him, pushing him forward. "This is it," he said, voice tight with urgency. "We get in there and shut him down." Sarah nodded. "We do this together." They kicked down the door. Inside, Sikar stood at the center of a massive control panel, surrounded by holographic screens and swirling data. His armor glowed dark red, his eyes burning with hatred. "So, the humans and Zor-K have decided to join forces," Sikar said, his voice low and full of venom. "You think this will stop me? You think you can erase the past?" Marcus stepped forward, his energy blade crackling to life. "We're not erasing anything. We're making sure the future doesn't look like your past." Sikar's eyes narrowed. "Then you will die with the rest of them." Before anyone could react, Sikar raised his hand, and a massive shockwave sent Sarah, Marcus, and the others crashing to the ground. The walls shook, and the air seemed to burn with energy. But Marcus pushed himself up, his armor glowing brighter than before. "You're not alone," he whispered to himself, remembering the ancient warriors who had fought beside him in the past. The power of the artifact surged through him, giving him strength, giving him focus. With a roar, he charged, his energy blade slashing through the air. Sikar moved fast, but Marcus was faster. The two warriors clashed, their weapons crackling with power. Each strike shook the control room. Sikar fought with the power of 1,000 warriors, but Marcus was not just a man anymore. He was a force. He was part of the ancient power, part of the legacy that had once ruled the stars. Sikar let out a growl and launched another blast of energy. Marcus dodged, his armor shifting with his movements. He struck again, this time hitting Sikar's chest, and the Zor-K leader staggered back. "You cannot defeat me," Sikar screamed. But Marcus didn't give him a chance to recover. With a final powerful strike, he drove his blade into Sikar's heart. The alien leader fell to the ground with a deafening crash. His body crackled with energy, and for a moment, the ship seemed to pause. Then, slowly, the lights flickered and went out. It was over. Sarah stepped forward, her eyes scanning the room. "We did it," she said quietly. But as the lights came back on, a low rumble shook the room. The walls began to tremble, and alarms blared across the ship. "What's happening?" Alan's voice crackled over the comms. "The ship's core is unstable. It's going to blow." The team looked around in panic. The ship was starting to tear itself apart. They had no time. They had to escape. "Everyone, get to the ship now," Sarah ordered. The team sprinted for the exit, but the corridors were collapsing. Alien soldiers, those still loyal to Sekar, were fighting their way through the hallways. They couldn't stop now. In the chaos, Carol stepped forward, holding a strange device in his hand. "Go," he shouted at Sarah. "You must leave now." "What are you doing?" Sarah asked, panic rising in her voice. "I will stay," Carl said, his face calm. "This device will stop the core from exploding, but it will cost me my life." "No," Sarah shouted. "We need you." Carol smiled softly. "This is the only way. Go. Your people need you." With one final nod, he activated the device. A flash of light filled the room, and the core of the ship stabilized. The explosion stopped, but the energy surge took Carl with it. His body disintegrated in the light, and Sarah could only watch in helpless silence. "Go!" Carl's voice echoed one last time. "Save your world." Sarah turned, her heart heavy. She didn't have time to mourn. They had to leave, and fast. The rest of the team boarded the ship, and they flew away from the wreckage of Sekar's ship. Behind them, the alien vessel cracked in half and exploded in a brilliant burst of light. As they returned to Earth, the war was over. The Zor-K were no longer their enemies. They were survivors, just like humanity. The two species would rebuild together, stronger than before. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The ancient technology was still out there, hidden beneath Earth's surface. And with it came new challenges, new enemies, and new opportunities. Humanity had just taken its first step toward the stars, and there would be no turning back. For the first time, Earth stood united, and that unity was their greatest weapon.